Everyone in Elders Hollow knew the rule: don't go near the old manor in the woods. It was a cold November evening, and the woods felt quiet. Too quiet. Then I saw it. Slow and deliberate, like it had been waiting. Welcome back to Grim Storytellers, where we bring you tales that chill your bones and haunt your dreams. Tonight's story comes from a young man named Ethan Clark, who had an encounter he'll never forget when he was just 15 years old. This isn't just another ghost story, it's a glimpse into something far darker, something waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to approach. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another tale. Now, dim the lights, settle in, and prepare yourself for haunted reflection. Hear the story. Everyone in Elders Hollow knew the rule: don't go near the old manor in the woods. People whispered about it like it was alive, like it had its own heartbeat and secrets. They avoided naming it, as if saying the manor out loud might summon something they didn't want to see. But the warnings always ended the same: stay away. Especially after dark. At 15, rules felt like they were made to be broken. I wasn't afraid, or at least, I told myself I wasn't. The stories were just exaggerations, right? Besides, the idea of facing down the manor and walking out unscathed, it made my heart race in the best way. It was a cold November evening, and the woods felt quiet. Too quiet. No birds chirping, no rustling leaves, just the crunch of my boots on the forest floor. My breath fogged in the chilly air, and the deeper I went, the more the silence pressed in around me. Then I saw it. The manor stood tall, hunched like it was cowering from something unseen. Its windows, black and lifeless, seemed to follow me as I approached. The closer I got, the heavier the air became. It was like walking into a storm before the thunderclap. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself forward. The steps groaned under my weight, and the door creaked open the moment I touched it. Slow and deliberate, like it had been waiting. Inside, the smell hit me first: mildew, decay, and something faintly metallic, like blood. The house was worse than I'd imagined. The wallpaper hung in tatters, revealing splintered wood underneath. Dust blanketed everything, so thick it muffled the sound of my footsteps. "Hello?" I called out, even though I knew no one would answer. My voice echoed back, softer, like it had been swallowed by the walls. I moved deeper into the house, each step feeling heavier than the last. The air grew colder, and shadows danced in the corners of my vision, vanishing when I turned to look. My brain kept trying to rationalize it. Just tricks of the light, I told myself. But my hands were trembling, and I couldn't make them stop. The kitchen felt different. It wasn't just cold, it was freezing. My breath came out in white puffs as I stepped inside. The table in the center caught my eye first, its surface scarred with deep, jagged carvings. I leaned closer. The marks weren't random, they were faces. Dozens of them, their expressions twisted in fear and agony. My stomach lurched, and I stumbled back, knocking into a chair that toppled with a deafening crash. The sound echoed like a gunshot, and for a moment, the air seemed to ripple, like the house was breathing. That was when I heard it, a faint whisper, so quiet I wasn't sure if it was real. It wasn't coming from the room. It was coming from deeper in the house. I should have left right then. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run, but my legs didn't listen. Instead, I followed the whisper down a hallway that felt too long, the walls warping and bending as I walked. The door at the end was slightly ajar, a faint, pulsing light spilling out from the crack. My heart pounded as I reached for the handle, every nerve in my body on edge. The room was almost empty, except for the mirror. It was massive, taller than me, with a frame carved with symbols I didn't recognize. The glass was cloudy, like it had been fogged up from the inside. I stepped closer, my reflection growing clearer with each step. But it wasn't just me in the mirror. At first, they were just shadows, faint and flickering. But as I stared, they took shape, faces, pale and hollow-eyed, pressing against the glass. Their mouths moved, but no sound came out.
Help me!
The words weren't spoken, they were in my head, like a thought that wasn't mine. My knees buckled, and I stumbled back, slamming into the wall. The faces grew sharper, their eyes desperate, their hands clawing at the other side of the glass. Then the glass rippled. I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't just a reflection anymore. The mirror wasn't a mirror, it was a doorway. The room changed. Shadows poured out of the corners, crawling toward me like they were alive. The air turned icy, each breath burning in my lungs. I bolted for the door, but the hallway wasn't the same. It twisted and stretched, the walls curving inward, the floor warping beneath my feet. The whispers followed me, growing louder, turning into frantic cries. Something brushed against my arm, cold and sharp, and I nearly tripped in my panic. "Don't look back," I muttered under my breath, my voice shaking. "Don't look back." The front door came into view, glowing faintly in the dark. I sprinted toward it, my chest heaving, my legs screaming for me to stop. When I finally burst through the door, the cold night air hit me like a wave. I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath, the damp grass soaking through my jeans. But it wasn't over. I glanced back at the manor, its dark silhouette looming against the moonlit sky. For a moment, it looked still, lifeless. But then I saw it, the faint glow in one of the upper windows, and the unmistakable shape of a figure watching me. My blood turned to ice. I scrambled to my feet and turned to run, but something caught a puddle glimmering in the moonlight. Stared back at me, but it wasn't just mine. The faces from the mirror were there too, their mouths moving in silent screams. "See you soon," they whispered, their voices echoing in my head. I stumbled back, shaking my head, trying to convince myself it wasn't real. But deep down, I knew the truth. The manor wasn't done with me. And that's how Ethan's chilling encounter with the manor came to an end, or did it? The question lingers, was he truly free, or had the shadows marked him for something more sinister? If you enjoyed this story and want more spine-tingling tales, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Grim Storytellers. Who knows? The next story might just be about you. Sleep well if you can.